Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Quranists Responses to Critics. Today we'll be talking about the video made by a brother named Bilal Hamza. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Bilal Hamza for his reversion to Islam. He was saying that, he was sort of like stating that reverts are often in a disadvantageous position, and they need to seek knowledge wherever they can from scholars, etc. I disagree. I don't think reverts are disadvantaged. I think in a way reverts are very advantaged in the sense that they have a clean slate when they approach Islam, or at least a cleaner slate than people like myself who were from a Muslim culture. So Isa actually made a video to respond to a video made by someone called Modern Hijabi Look. Modern Hijabi Look made a video called "Is the Quran incomplete without hadith?" And she said no, the Quran is complete without hadith. And this video had a very hot response from the public. It's been mentioned in several Facebook groups of which I'm a member as well. And Bilal Hamza was the only one to make a video response. So Quranist Responses to Critics from Quranist Network Television, QNet TV, we are hoping to respond to Bilal Hamza today. So let's go point by point. Bilal Hamza said, "Most educated Muslims say the Quran is complete without hadith, but we still need hadith. This seems to be a contradiction. The Quran is complete without hadith, but we still need hadith." So because Isa did not elaborate upon that point, I'd like to ask Isa, if you're watching this, how is the Quran complete? If it's complete in one sense, it will not need any other source in that sense of the word. How is it complete? And it is obviously incomplete in the sense that it needs hadith. How is it incomplete? Let us know, please. I would like an answer to that. Isa also mentions Zakir Naik, Ahmad Didat, and a few other people. Once again, whatever people think, that's their business. We're not here to judge people and to tell them, okay, you are a disbeliever, you're a believer, etc. That's not my job. My job is to analyze what they say and see if they're right or wrong. I'd like to see what Zakir Naik says about hadith. And if he provides evidence, I'm ready to believe him. Obviously, he needs to engage with the Quran and show us. The video which I saw, I did not see any kind of evidence which he provided. He made an assertion, yes, but where is his evidence? I'd like to see that. So now we get to the nitty-gritty of it. In minute 2.20, Bilal Hamza says, the way of the life of the Prophet is the Sunnah, and we learn about the Sunnah from Hadith. Really, is that true? Is the way of the life of the Prophet the Sunnah? Because if you look at the Quran, firstly, the first point you make is that the Quran never uses the word Hadith and Sunnah to mean Hadith of Rasulullah and Sunnah to Rasulullah. So the two words which are crucial for this information, Hadith and Sunnah, Allah could have easily used the phrase Sunnah to Rasul or Hadith Rasulullah. He did not. He did not. He calls the Quran the best Hadith. Yes. He calls Sunnatullah as Sunnah. Sunnatullah, the way of Allah. He does not use Sunnah to Rasul. So where did Sunnah to Rasul come from? So that's something which you need to look into, please, Isa. So you say that the way of the life of the Prophet is the Sunnah. So the question arises there, what did the Prophet follow? And you asked this question as well. You quoted chapter 3, verse 31, which is quite a commonplace verse for those who wish to uphold the Sunnah. Say, Kul in kuntum tuhibbun Allah. Say, if you love Allah. There is no O Muhammad there. There is no O Muhammad there. It's in the translation, it's been interpolated. You seem to be coming from a Christian background. I'm sure you're not a big fan of interpolations. This is an interpolation. You would not like this as well. It's not in the ayah. Qul in kuntum tuhibbun Allah. Say, if you love Allah, fa'attabi'uni, follow me. So it does not say, "Oh Muhammad" there. It's actually talking to anyone who is actually following the path of Allah. Um, and the ayat continues. The next ayat says, "Qul ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul." So obey Allah and obey the Messenger. And then you quoted chapter 4 verse 80, which says, "Man yuti'ur Rasul faqad ata Allah." Whoever obeys the Messenger, he has obeyed Allah. So what you're saying is that the Quran is basically telling us, please obey the Messenger, follow the Messenger. So here is something which you need to ask. Did the Messenger follow this? Did he follow the Quran? Because in chapter 10 verse 15, and I must say that the wording of that is so explicit, it's so difficult to get around that, I would think. It says, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ, and when it is recited to them our clear signs. That's the Quran, it's clear. وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ, when it's recited to them our clear signs. قَالَ, they say, الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا, these people who do not rely on the meeting with us, أَأْتِي بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا, bring us a Quran other than this. They didn't mention any sunnah there. They did not. They just say, bring us a Quran other than this, or change this. So why didn't they say at that point, "Oh, we don't understand what you just said. We don't understand the Quran, so you need to explain it with the sunnah"? No, that was not said. It was clear to them, and they are disbelievers. So what, isn't it clear to us as well? We need to think about that. So the Prophet was authorized to respond. Kul, say. So the Prophet was told to say, "Ma yakunu li, it is not meet for me, an ubaddilahu min tilqa'i nafsi, that I should change this with the propensity of myself. I cannot change this. Attabi'u illa ma yuha ilayya. I follow. Attabi'u illa ma yuha ilayya. What is revealed to me." There's no sunnah there. There's no hadith there. The Prophet followed only the Quran. We should follow only the Quran. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Let's have a look at that. Chapter 8 verse 20. Right. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O ye who have believed, ati'u Allah wa ati'u wa rasulahu. Obey Allah and His Messenger. Two people, yeah? Two personalities. Obey Allah, obey the Messenger. Okay? وَلَا تَوَلَّوْا أَنْهُ, and do not turn away from Him. وَلَا تَوَلَّوْا أَنْهُ, do not turn away from Him. وَأَنْتُمْ تَسْمَعُونَ, while you hear. So, Isa, obeying Allah and obeying the Messenger, which you perceive to be two things, is actually one thing. Because you don't hear Allah. وَأَنْتُمْ تَسْمَعُونَ, and while you hear. You don't hear Allah, you hear the Messenger. Now, you said, look, the Messenger commanded us to do a lot of things, and it's in Hadith. No, the Messenger was told in the Quran, Kul, say, Kul, say, Kul, say. So in other words, when the Messenger is telling you, Kul, 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 you do it. You say, you say, you say. You see what I mean? The Messenger's commands are in here. They are not elsewhere. Can you imagine the case? Allah is telling you, follow the Messenger and obey the Messenger. 200 years down the line, you get authentic books. 200 years. With us, 200 years ago, we can't even conceive of life back then. And yet, you're saying that 200 years later, we have the books which contain the Messenger's teachings. This is untenable, Isa. Untenable. It doesn't make any sense. The Quran was there since the beginning. And that's how we know it's authentic. It's not true with Hadith. You claim that the Prophet is a mercy unto mankind. It's true. The Quran says, calls him Rahmatul lil Alameen, mercy unto the worlds. Here's the thing though, can you find that mercy in Hadith? I would suggest you have a look at Hadith and see his massacre of the Jews in Khaybar, which is a myth. It's a myth, but it's in the hadith. I would suggest you have a look at his command, uh, not his command, sorry, his practice where he burnt burnt off the eyes of certain tribes for their crimes. I mean, he could have executed them. He didn't. He tortured them first. I mean, this is the prophet of hadith. He also went up to the sky to bargain with Allah about the number of prayers. You know, these are the kind of myths which we subscribe to, which insult the prophet. If we love the prophet, should we believe in these things? I don't think so. So, Isa, please look into those things. I mean, you sound like a sincere guy, and I'm sure you did not want to revert from Christianity to Islam only to change one idol for another. I'm sure you didn't want to do that, so please look into it. In minute 6.10, you said the Quran says no sect. So look at the Shia, you said, look at the Wahhabis. Okay, but what about yourself? Why are you not a sect? I mean, you have effectively cast off the others. That makes you a sect. You have your own selection of hadith, and you believe that the hadith of the other sect, their scholars, are not valid. So that makes you just the same as in their position. Please don't think of it like that. We all have multiple approaches to Islam. Allah does not have a problem with it. Why should we? We all try to learn Islam in our own way. And as you say, the Sunnah should not be a burden. Do you know that in the Sunnah, if you just reverted to Islam and if you change your mind, there is a capital punishment on you? How is the Sunnah not a burden then? How is it not a burden? There is a hadith which says, I have been commanded to fight the people till they say La ilaha illallah. This is in Sahih Bukhari, which you consider to be authentic, sound chain of narrations. The Prophet said, I have been commanded to fight the people till they say La ilaha illallah. Fight. La ikraha fi deen. There is no compulsion in that deen. Yet the Prophet will fight the people till they say La ilaha illallah. How is this, brother? How is this? We are insulting the Prophet through our conjectures about him. And the last point is that you say there are authentic, unbroken chains of narration, which Bukhari and Muslim captured in their Jami' al-Sahih, their collection of authentic hadith sayings. Is this true? Bukhari came 200 years after the Prophet. He met the last guy in the chain. Yeah? That last guy, he had a conversation with him, and from there he would think that that guy who had the name of the guy before him, who had the name of a guy before him, who had the name of a guy before him, who had the name of a guy before him, who had the name of a companion, who quoted the Prophet is correct. Six links in the chain. How are you going to know? How are you going to know? If you made up that guy with a biography and you disseminated that mythical person, nobody would know better. Nobody would know better. It's just untenable. It's just untenable. Furthermore, did you know that Bukhari contradicts himself? There is a story in Bukhari, about Bukhari, where he was interviewing this guy for a hadith. And this guy, he did a certain trick to get his donkey to come over, right? And Bukhari saw that, and Bukhari thought, he tricks his donkeys, so I'm not going to believe him. I don't think he's trustworthy. Okay. What about Abu Hurairah? Abu Hurairah, in the hadith of Bukhari himself, he confessed to deceiving other companions that he didn't know the Quran just so he can get a free meal. That's Abu Hurairah. What did he do? He did that. And Bukhari accepted him. Why is there such a double standard? Is this our deen, where we need to think and arbitrate which is the best narrator, and the narrator died years ago and we don't even know who he is? Did Bukhari himself even exist? We don't even know, because the first codified collection of Bukhari only came not during Bukhari's time, but during his followers' time, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, which was hundreds of years later. You see? So this is the situation of hadith. You have been fed a bill of goods here. I suggest you look at hadith with great skepticism. Look at a history if you like, but no way can it provide a source of deen. It cannot do that. Instead, why don't you look at the Quran for yourself? Read the Quran. I'm sure you will find it a great comfort and solace to your own faith. So with that, I close this episode of Quranist Responses to Critics, Isa Bilal Hamza, and I hope we can see you again in the future.